Hey, good morning. Saturday morning, everybody. 48 first alert weather day for the potential for some strong storms this afternoon and evening. Where are we at right now? Good question. Let me go ahead and put this in play. Let me see if I can do this. No, I don't want that. I'm going to go back. Bear with me, everybody. There we go. So where are the storms right now? They are not here. We actually woke up with some beautiful sunny skies, and the temperatures right now are pretty awesome. A lot of 60s this morning, but obviously the main concern is going to be tracking some thunderstorms as we go into the afternoon. A history of severe weather with the storms off to the west that are moving, just say northwest of Memphis now through Arkansas. There was numerous reports of damage in the Tulsa, or at least north of Tulsa, with tornadoes last night. It's very intimidating when you're in the Tennessee Valley where you see the word Huntsville and you're looking at the radar and you see this line of storms that looks pretty impressive. There is a tornado watch, I do believe, for areas including Memphis already issued. We still have some time before these storms get here. I know they look pretty close, but it'll take some time into the afternoon, probably about 2 o'clock for northwest Alabama. And when they get here, they'll probably be in the process of weakening a bit. Still doesn't mean they can't pop. A few gusty winds and also some very heavy rainfall. The winds themselves mainly over 40, 50 miles an hour, but to reach severe criteria, you got to be over 58. Could that happen? Yeah, when the storms first move into northwest Alabama. We will obviously be here tracking it for you. When it comes to watches, it's always tricky on how the SPC and the National Weather Service played out. Obviously, it's usually within an overabundance of caution. So it would not shock me if there's a tornado watch issued for at least our western zones today. Probably west of I-65. Certainly Lauderdale, Colbert, and Franklin counties would be the counties that I would think would be included if we have any kind of tornado watch. I don't think it would be a severe thunderstorm watch with this setup. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Just remember, a watch means that the conditions are favorable or potential for maybe a spinner, but I still think this is mainly a rain and wind event for everybody. And this is right now off to our west, and there's a line of storms that actually goes all the way up into the Great Lakes. I don't know if you watched the national news this morning, but there was places like in Michigan yesterday that had a tornado, and yet they still have ice on the Great Lakes, which is crazy. But yeah, it's a front that is all the way from Canada down to Texas. And along that front is the boundary where the battleground is laid out. And that's where we'll have the potential for some storms for today. So your weekend forecast, the strong storms, obviously the 48 first alert weather day for today, 77 for the high. The timing of it between about 2 and 8 p.m. Showers linger overnight, and for Sunday, forecast miles really backing off on the rainfall right now. There looks like there's some showers really early in the morning and then some showers really late in the day. But in between, it could be just a nice little chunky, dry day that just features a lot of clouds. 70s for Sunday. Not quite as warm as today, but not cold for sure. And don't forget, daylight saving time begins tonight. Clocks will spring forward 1 hour. So I'll take you through the first alert weather hour by hour, or I'll pinpoint and stop, pause on certain areas and time frames I want to show you. And I've done this. This is a zoomed up version right here. Okay, I got you like tight into the Tennessee Valley. I'm going to show you an extended one where I zoom out a bit, and it might make a little bit more sense for you. But this one right here, 2 p.m., so far so good. But by 3 p.m., 4 p.m., there's that first initial line of storms that makes their way into northwest Alabama and parts of Tennessee and like Lawrence County, where we do have some viewers. This would likely be when the strong storms are strongest and could produce some wind gusts that could maybe exceed severe criteria. But most of your forecast area at this point is dry. Like in Huntsville and Decatur and Athens, we're still waiting. And this is 4 o'clock now. So by the time the storms arrive in northwest Alabama, they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting. And if we have any kind of, severe weather at that point, this is where it's going to be. Then we go into 4, 5, 6 o'clock. The line continues to move east. At this point, it still has the potential to produce some gusty winds, but it's now transitioning to more of a heavy rain event at this point. But keep in mind, even if the storms are not severe, and severe by definition doesn't include thunder and lightning. So if thunder, lightning freak you out, or like my case, my dogs don't like the thunder, I'm taking necessary precautions this afternoon to make sure I'm okay. I'll be here at work, and the dogs will be taken care of at home. But I think a lot of times when you have these storms and we're issuing 48 first alert weather days, everyone just thinks automatically triggers, widespread severe weather, tornadoes, and that's just simply not the case with this system. It's a rain wind event. We'll keep an eye out for an isolated tornado for northwest Alabama, but at this point at 6 p.m., a lot of this is just heavy rain coming down. Now, as it starts to move east, you get a couple different clusters by about 8, 9 o'clock. At this point, the rain's coming down pretty good. Probably have a lot of lightning with the storms. Wind gusts about 35, 40 miles an hour. And then it quickly shifts to the east. And by 10 o'clock, it's pretty much crossed the Georgia state line. The exception would be maybe southern DeKalb County, where there could be a few stronger storms at that point. But by 10 o'clock, this is mainly done. And then overnight, just some lingering showers. Much of the day on Sunday features just a lot of cloud cover. There doesn't look to be a lot of rainfall. And therefore, the second half of the weekend will be overall drier during the midday hours. But even today, we have to wait till almost 2, 3 o'clock for the rain today. So today's pretty dry too when you think about it. But 48 first alert, weather day for Saturday at 9 a.m. The storms are to our west, and that's where we're at right now. Here they come. Losing a little bit of their oomph by 3 p.m., but they're knocking on the door just after 2, 3 o'clock. And then you see them starting to make their way east at this point into Huntsville metro area by 4 or 5 o'clock. They still have a lot of rain with them, and they're still pretty gusty. But this wider look, you can see how long the line is. Like it's like it goes all the way up into Canada, but I cut it a little short so you can just see it more regionally instead of locally. And you can see that there's still a big impact for the area. That will continue by 6, 7, 8 o'clock as it works its way to the east. Once the initial line moves off to your east, you're probably going to be straddled in between some showers northwest and also a pocket of heavy rain right behind the main line. So you see from south of Huntsville all the way back into west of Birmingham, that at 8 p.m. right there is mainly just some heavy rainfall. And then it advances to the east and eventually crosses the state line. So there's your storm timeline. I feel like I've shown this quite a bit this morning. And only adjustment I made to it from last night was I pushed the start time back a little bit. Start time was we had noon yesterday, and it looks like it's going to take a little longer to get here. That really doesn't change any part of the forecast. 2 to 5 for areas in the yellow, 3 to 7 for areas in the red, and then 6 to 9 for areas in the orange. And this is storm timeline. But if we get that initial push, northwest Alabama at first, and then the storms start to weaken a bit as they go to the east, it turns into be more of a rainfall event for areas in DeKalb and Jackson County. But we're here tracking it. I'm going to keep an eye out. If they issue any kind of watch for the area, I'll be back into work and update the web and everything else. When it comes to covering this and streaming, probably won't stream until the storms actually get here, about 2, 3 o'clock. And for those of you watching on other platforms right now, we will stream on Facebook for severe weather. Trying to think anything to cover it. Jada and I will be here. Eric Burke's coming in in the late afternoon and evening, and he'll probably switch out with me so I can actually maybe get a little sleep, even though it's going to rain all night, because I got to be back Sunday morning. So we'll work it out schedule-wise and make sure we have you covered. Download the WAFF 48 app. It's a great tool. If you ever see that promotion, it's a great tool, even if it's raining or not severe. But anyway, the rainfall itself, easy to track, and the storms are easy to track on our radar. Some of you have had some issues with the overlay on it. All you got to do is just click the overlay off, and it goes away, and you can see everything. You can put it in future. You can see current. And just remember, too, if you have the radar, our 48 weather app, if you have it in radar future mode, you're not seeing it in current mode. So a lot of times somebody will say, hey, there's a storm in ARAB, and it's not showing up on my app. And I can see, when they send me the screenshot, that they're in future mode, and it shows where the storm would be 4 hours later, and there's nothing there. So just make sure that you're in current mode, present mode, and that will make the 48 app so much more useful to you. It also has overlays of watches and warnings. You can toggle those off if they get in the way, because sometimes there's a lot of pretty colors and you really just want to see the radar. You can do that easily as well. All simple, easy peasy stuff. So storm threats, winds, we talked about, heavy rainfall. There is a chance for some hail. I just want to emphasize to you, a couple weeks ago, we had some pockets where the hail was measured over 1 inch in diameter, and that's severe by definition. Probably not quite that kind of hail with this setup. It'll be more pea-sized hail if we get it. And it would be less apt to pile up like it did a couple Thursdays ago. So small hail, yes. We'll probably get a whole bunch of hail in hand pictures, hail on deck pictures. But overall, the hail, not like it was a couple weeks ago, last Thursday or whatever it was. The rainfall and the winds, primary concerns. I talked about the potential for a lot of lightning. Again, anytime you have severe weather, can you take and put 0 chance for a tornado? No, but it's really, really low. And mainly for Northwest Alabama. If we have any kind of rotation, keep in mind, if we have a tornado watch, it doesn't mean that we have a tornado on the ground. That means that conditions are favorable or conducive to maybe have some kind of spin-up tornado. And just because, and no offense, I'm not trying to offend anybody with this, but even if we have a tornado warning, that does not necessarily mean that there's a tornado on the ground. Again, sometimes, warnings and stuff are issued out of an abundance of caution. And, like I think it was on December 18th, we had a tornado warning for parts of Jackson County. There was no tornado that night. But I think it's proactive by the National Weather Service to be like that because you want to make sure people are safe and they're heeding the warnings. And that's what it's all about, is keeping you safe at home. And that's what we try to do here at the station. That's what the National Weather Service tries to do. It's what the Storm Prediction Center tries to do. And really any weather outlet tries to do is to make sure you're safe. We've had times in the Tennessee Valley, even before I worked here, where, you have severe weather events that you remember for life, right? And I think every time we issue a 48 first alert, a lot of times, that message may be a bit obscured because you think, it's going to be like big widespread severe weather. There certainly is potential for some strong storms today, but this is not like your typical March widespread severe weather event unless it plays way up. This is still going to be an impactful day for sure. But unfortunately, there have been times when it could be much worse in the Tennessee Valley. And hopefully we won't have to deal with that. Now, I'm going to say that, and I'm going to show you the 10-day forecast. I want to get through Saturday first before we start thinking about our next 48 first alert weather day. Because I think it sends a mixed message if you have too many of them on the board. So what I'm going to do is, after we change the clocks tonight, I will probably come in tomorrow, and I'm not going to issue a first alert weather day for Sunday, but probably Wednesday would be the day we have to keep an eye on. Because after a few showers on Sunday, Monday has a few scattered storms, and they don't look like they'll be severe, but there could be some heavy rainfall, and the coverage of rainfall Monday will be pretty good. One thing before I go any deeper into this forecast, we could really use some rain. Many of you are very aware of that. I've talked about that on the Facebook social media this morning with me. If we could hit on some rainfall and not have severe weather, that's a win-win. And hopefully that can happen today. Monday, same scenario. Tuesday's more of a lull between two systems and maybe a few pop-up storms. Very warm, though. Temperatures around 80 degrees Tuesday and Wednesday. That's when a cold front moves through. And that's why probably we'll have to issue a first alert weather day for Wednesday. I'll try to put that together tomorrow morning. Just because it looks like in the afternoon and evening, some storms that could produce certainly some heavy rain and gusty winds when the cold front passes through. And then once that front passes through, I left 20% for Thursday for a lingering shower in the morning. But what you're going to remember most for Thursday and the frontal boundary going through is the potential for strong storms Wednesday, and then the cooler temperatures Thursday as we go back to around 60 degrees, which is where we actually should be for this time of year. And those gaudy 70s and 80s are replaced by something more typical for this time of year. In March and April in the Tennessee Valley, you can have some very warm days. It doesn't mean that we are licked when it comes to cold temperatures. We haven't gotten by it all yet. Like, there's still going to be nights when it's cold. There's still going to be days that are cool. That's just the way this works. Thursday will be that day. Friday, 68, mostly sunny, looks good. Weekend right now looks pretty good. And then on the 10th day of the 10-day, another shot of some cooler air on Monday. That could be marked with some showers Sunday night. And it looks like that colder air, not just 60 on Monday, but it looks like Monday night in particular could even drop back to around freezing. So we still probably will have some colder nights and cooler days. That is not something that we have passed by for the month of March and April, even though it started off so incredibly warm this month of March. There's going to be times when there's adjustments and we kind of fall back into that winter type mode. Mother Nature says, not so fast. Spring arrives March 20th this year. It's also when the Havoc have their next home game. They're like on the road for like a month. It's crazy. So, but anywho, that sums it up. I think I feel like I covered everything. If there's anything I missed, you can message me, preferably on Facebook. It's easier, and let me know. A lot of questions I had this morning on Facebook was how much rainfall. That's a great question. It just depends on where the heavier bands of rain set up, but you could easily have a 1 to 2 inch rain amount for one particular location with heavy rainfall. If you're that one spot that gets like multiple downpours in the next 24 hours, that's a very realistic possibility. One question I had was, are we going to have watches and warnings? Most likely there'll be some kind of watch at least issued for areas west of I-65, and I would imagine it would be in the form of a tornado watch, most likely. It covers severe storms as well and covers everything on the gamut, so to speak. Will we have warnings? That's what we're here for. If they start issuing warnings for the storm, we're here to cover that. Certainly tornado warnings, we go to air for that. And that's certainly a possibility, especially when the storms move into northwest Alabama at the onset of the arrival of the storms, around 2, 3 o'clock. What was another question I had? Oh, somebody asked me about flooding. That was a great question, too. It's a great question because I think ponding on the road's more likely. Flash flooding, the line of storms is moving pretty quickly in terms of weather world. So I don't think we'll have any flash flooding. But, again, if one area has that one storm like that just doesn't move much and gets stuck, and then you have another one pop behind it and you're in Joppa and you get boom, boom, hit with two of them, I guess there could be some flash flooding, but I think that would be a low-end threat. One of the questions I got was, would the hail be the same size as last time? And I said no, more like pea-size hail. Another question I had this morning, not thunderstorm related, was when can we do without daylight saving time? That's above my pay grade. I don't deal with that. I just move the clocks back and tell people when to do them, or I jump them forward. And I think that covers all the questions I had this morning. So I try to answer y'all back while I'm on air. I'll be on air in between hits. And if you send me a legit question, I try to answer back. I'm sure that the storms are going to make national news today, but don't get clouded by when they show the regional map. They're going to show, they showed a lot of crazy video this morning in Tulsa and Arkansas and stuff, or Michigan was where it was. Don't get all sidetracked by it making national news. Focus on the forecast here locally and what your local Mets are telling you. I think it's really important because it's so easy to see the destruction in other areas to our west, and you think, well, that's the line of storms coming our way. And though we could have some damage here, it probably won't quite play out like that. It was pretty serious, severe weather event west of us last night. So, all right. Good to go. I'll be back here probably in a couple hours and keep an eye on things. But everybody have a good day. And know that we're here watching it for you. We'll keep you updated on air, online, any way we possibly can. And stay safe, everybody.